They turned it down. But now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because she's losing badly.
This comes as a vice presidential debate between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance is scheduled for October 1st. The acting Secret Service chief has admitted to security failures in Butler, Pennsylvania, the day of the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Here's Fox's Madeline Rivera.
Secret Service and local police knew that securing the rally site in Butler, Pennsylvania was going to be a challenge. They recognized that there was an obstructed view of the stage, yet there was no follow-through to mitigate these concerns. Authorities were also worried about the position of a local tactical team, which was stationed on the second floor of the AGR building. But again, there was no follow-up with the Secret Service to move that team up on the roof. The suspect fired shots from that location.
Yesterday, the House unanimously passed a bill to boost security for presidential and vice presidential candidates, giving them the same level of protection as sitting presidents. France announcing a new center-right government today, and the Arizona Supreme Court ruling nearly 98,000 Arizonians whose citizenship had not been confirmed can vote on the full ballot. America is listening to Fox News.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday. Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts. Interesting people are talking to Will Kane.
I said, what do I call you? I call you Dwayne. I call you The Rock. He said, now that I own it, I can call you The Rock.
Yes, I own it now. You can call me The Rock.
Our next guest needs no introduction. It is Dr. Jordan Peters, my old friend and frenemy, Stephen A. Smith.
What is going on here? I see the Will Kane show in the background. I see the microphone.
Watch it live at noon Eastern, Monday through Thursday on foxnews.com. And get the podcast 5 days a week at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
A federal judge extended
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He did not survive. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Noblesville police say officers and firefighters tried to save a man from a pond early Friday evening, but the man did not survive. Someone called 911 around 4 p.m. about a man in a retention pond near Windwood Parkway and Hague Road. The caller explained that the man had been standing on a fountain, jumped off, and not resurfaced. At the scene, a diver with the Noblesville Fire Department found Zachary Polson underwater. Polson was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but he did not survive. And Fort Wayne police are trying to figure out why 2 bodies were found in a river Friday. Harrison Silcox reports.
People doing a volunteer cleanup at the St. Mary's River found the bodies Friday afternoon near a boat ramp east of Goldland Park. Once they called police, officers showed up to the scene along with a dive team from the fire department to pull the bodies out of the water. Who the people are or how they wound up in the river has yet to be determined. If you have any info that would help officers answer that question, FWP would like a conversation. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
But the Food and Drug Administration is approving the first ever at-home flu vaccine. On Friday, the FDA announced that it has approved a nasal spray vaccine called FluMist to be administered at home without a healthcare provider present. FDA officials say at-home flu vaccines are more convenient and accessible for most people. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, partly cloudy, low temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. And for tomorrow, showers are likely, which will bring much-needed rain to the area. High temperatures in the upper 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
One of my favorite things about playing high school sports is being a part of something bigger than myself.
I love being a part of a team and having a place where I belong. I'm Georgia Ferguson from East Central High School.
And I'm Jace Martin from North Harrison High School. The moments that often stand out most for student athletes happen off the playing field.
It's the team dinners, bus rides, and the music in the locker room.
It's the camaraderie, shared experiences, and being with your friends.
That sense of community helps you develop pride in who you are and what you represent.
Playing high school sports is where the values of your team, school, and community are on display for everyone to see.
It's a chance to show the best of us and make memories that will last a lifetime.
I am IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig. Be a champion of high school sports and support these memorable moments by buying a ticket to your school's athletic events. This is forging friendships. This is building community. This is your IHSAA.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local, well-trained expert you can trust like Reinhardt Heating and Cooling? Well, find that American Standard dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at GotYour6.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. I'm thrilled to be with you. It's a beautiful afternoon. Hope you got to go out and exercise your Second Amendment rights today. I was both working on a case. I've got a case getting ready to go to trial a week from Monday. In fact, this coming Saturday, a week from today, I will not have a show, so heads up on that. I've got a week-long jury trial in federal court starting that next Monday on the 30th, and so that Saturday, I'm sure I'll be hunkered down in the office getting ready to go to trial. But producer Jack will be here, and there'll be some substitute programming. I think they've decided on what they're going to play instead. By the way, you can always join us here during the live shows on YouTube. If you're interested in watching a video, there's a chat feature, and folks can talk to each other or to me to the extent I'm able to check out what's going on the chat feature while doing live radio. But check that out on YouTube. You go to the 93 WIBC channel, and I don't see it coming up yet, but I'm sure it's on there somewhere. I'm probably just not finding it. But you can check that out on YouTube as well. You know, here 6 days ago, since I've had my last show, we had what certainly appears to be a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And in the heels of that was last Sunday, so it was just the day after me doing my last show. It seems like longer ago than that. I mean, Trump's had multiple rallies. He was in North Carolina today, and I think he's even have a rally going on right now, or recently ended. But he was playing golf, and he was at the Trump International Golf Club there in Florida, and a gentleman was hunkered down just outside of fence, just off the golf course, really down in a bunch of shrubbery with a rifle, a couple of backpacks, supposedly had ceramic plates in the backpacks, which is interesting. I'll talk about that here in a minute. And had a rifle, and the rifle was reported to be an AK-47 from the press early on, I think as conveyed to them by law enforcement. And I got to tell you, in looking at the pictures of the rifle that we started seeing on the news as they were released from law enforcement, or as some of the news media were able to get some pictures, it didn't look like an AK-47 to me at all. It looked like, I started to say a related rifle. It's not really related in the sense that, except that it's Russian, but really looked to me to be an SKS. And I said so publicly. I said so on social media. I said, I think the reports are wrong. It looks to me like an SKS. And lo and behold, that ultimately was confirmed by law enforcement. That's the rifle we're talking about. And then I started having a bunch of follow-up questions. You know, what is an SKS? You know, was that an appropriate rifle to choose? You're going to make a long-distance shot, essentially use it as a sniper rifle, and it did have an optic on it. It did have some kind of a scope on it. I could not get any kind of an angle to see what kind of an optic it was, whether it was quality optic, whether it was cheap trash, I don't know, but did have some kind of a scope on it. And that's all kind of an interesting discussion. If you're just interested in firearms, it's really kind of interesting. And this Ryan Routh guy, who was the one caught with the rifle, and I don't think there's any other explanation, especially given his social media posts and whatnot, very anti-Trump, supposedly voted for Trump at one point, I think in 2016, then realized the horrible mistake he had made, according to his social media posts, and then became very, very, very anti-Trump, I should say, and even self-published a book where he was saying to Iran that they really ought to come assassinate former President Trump. But here he is. He's hunkered down along this fence line. He's got an SKS. First of all, what is an SKS? SKS, if you translated it to Russian, SKS is an acronym for autoloading carbine of the Simonov design. Now, Simonov is Sergei Simonov, the guy who designed it. So that's obviously a separate guy from Kalashnikov, who very famous guy who designed the AK-47 and several other Russian firearms. And Kalashnikov, I think, is sort of thought of as the Russian John Moses Browning, one of our famous inventors here in the U.S. Kalashnikov occupies a similar stature in Russia, but a guy named Sergei Simonov, who also very prolific firearm designer of Soviet weapons, actually produced the SKS. It's been around since 1945. It's an old rifle. And it was really meant to replace the Mosin Nagant. What was the Mosin Nagant? Mosin Nagant was a bolt-action rifle, is a bolt-action rifle. And I'll tell you what, for years, you could go to gun shops. Back in the day, you could go to gun shows, and you could find all the Mosin Nagants you could shake a stick at for not a lot of money, usually $100, $150. I think they've gone up since then. I think the supply has gone down a little bit. But the Mosin Nagant was the Soviet or Russian infantry rifle, bolt action, 7.62 by 54R. So it was actually a longer cartridge, fired very corrosive cartridge. So it was kind of a pain in the butt in terms of cleaning your rifle and whatnot. But certainly a proficient, reliable bolt action rifle, but bolt action as opposed to semi-automatic. The SKS came along as a semi-automatic infantry rifle meant to replace the Mosin Nagant. And it did, but for a brief time, because then the AK-47 came along in the early 50s, and the SKS from day one was semi-automatic. And I don't think Simonov ever intended to. I'm sure they can be converted and have been, but Simonov designed it only as a semi-automatic, where the AK came along really intended to be select fire or fully automatic as well as semi-automatic. So really more fits the definition of an infantry quote-unquote assault rifle being automatic, the AK-47. So the SKS is fundamentally different. Now, the rifle, again, that I saw from the alleged attempted assassin in Florida, the gun looked to me to have a detachable magazine. Now, that's a little different than the original SKS. SKX had a fixed box magazine, held 10 rounds, and you loaded it through the action, typically 10 rounds. The fixed magazine had a trap door in the bottom of it, so if you wanted to unload the fixed magazine, you could unload or open that trap door, and the rounds dropped out of the bottom. They're still around. You can still find a lot of them. SKS has a dubious connection to Indianapolis, and my recollection is, if somebody out there, especially somebody from IMPD that goes back a ways, has a different recollection, call me and correct me. But my recollection is the bad guy who with a long history of mental illness, who had a breakdown, who was out in the street on the near southeast side, having just murdered his mother and shooting rounds off into the air, when several then IPD officers, this is 2004, I believe, before IMPD was formed, but IPD and Officer Jake Laird a very beloved, very respected IPD officer, was one of the officers that responded, was shot and killed by the person, again, with a long history of mental illness. And that murder of Officer Laird was the impetus behind the passing of Indiana's red flag law, our so-called dangerous persons law. And now we tend to call those red flag laws. And a lot of times people just call it the Laird law after Jake Laird. His murder was clearly the momentum behind that. And that gentleman, I don't like to name them, but that person who murdered Jake Laird, my recollection is, had an SKS. So again, is that the rifle I'd choose if I'm gonna attempt an assassination as a sniper? Absolutely not. It's an old design. There are 100 rifles I would choose ahead of the SKS. Is it reasonably accurate? I suppose. It shoots 7.62 by 39, the same round of ammunition fired by the AK-47 in its traditional configuration, and the 7.62 by 39's got a huge drop off in the sense that you get out around 400 yards and you're going to have somewhere around 5 feet of drop. That is, you'd have to hold over a full 5 feet above your target in order to hit what you're shooting at 400 yards. And President Trump was somewhere reportedly between 400 and 500 yards from this guy at the time. It's Ryan Ralph, at the time that he was detected, and actually Secret Service people fired shots at him. And he ran away, got in his car, fled. A heads-up, diligent private person, citizen, saw him fleeing, got a copy of his license plate, got a picture of his license plate, got a description of the car, put that out to law enforcement, and they found the guy traveling along I-95. But what's interesting is when I first saw all this, I thought, okay, the guy was going to take a shot from 400 to 500 yards away. At 500 yards, the 7.62 by 39 has a drop-off of approximately 10 feet, 120 inches. 10 feet. You got to do a holdover. You got to know your rifle well enough, have a good enough optic, be able to calculate distance, whether with a rangefinder. I did not hear that he had a rangefinder. And then know exactly what your holdover is going to be and have a rifle that's consistent enough for you to be able to hit a man-sized target at that distance. So I'm looking at this going, this is doomed to failure if he's taking a 400 or 500-yard shot. But then I saw the diagram of the actual golf course and where this guy was. And as I remember, Trump was on the 5th hole golfing when they found the bad guy hiding in the shrubbery with his rifle and took shots at him before he fled. So I'm thinking, well, okay, he's going to take a 400 or 500-yard shot because that's about how far it was as Trump was on the 5th hole in the particular location on that hole where he was when shots were fired. But if he'd have kept playing, that's where it gets real scary. If he'd have kept playing and came up to the 6th hole, he was going to be right in front of this guy. I mean, I don't know what the distance would have been, but based on the diagram, this fence that he was hiding up against in the shrubbery was just feet from where Trump was likely to be at some point playing that hole. Looked to me probably from the green. Not a golfer, but that's what it looked like to me as the uninitiated non-golfer that I am. We're talking about mere feet. Give me an SKS at that short of a distance, oh, that's an easy shot, especially with an optic on it, if the gun's in any kind of workable condition. So that changes that equation a lot. But anyway, I've had a lot of people ask me about that gun, about that rifle, where it came from. Again, not the rifle I'd choose if I wanted 100% reliability and 100% accuracy. There are a lot of guns I own I'd choose way ahead of the SKS, but that's what the guy apparently had available to him. He is a felon, which leads into another discussion I'll go into here after the break. He was a felon, which means he cannot legally possess a gun, cannot legally buy a gun, which apparently cut down on his selection to some degree. Perhaps his budget did as well. But that's a little commentary on that. I want to talk a little bit more about this guy, though, where he was, how he got caught, how all that stacks up against perhaps what someone with a little better training might have done in that same scenario. But we'll be back here in just a moment. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show. Give us a call. You want to join the discussion, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
We assume that you have one of those kind of soaking tubs.
Oh, you're talking about like over the Coco Motel. The Kokomo there.
The Coco Motel?
Yep.
Please tell me there's a real place called the Coco Motel.
There is, yeah. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it used to be.
How was I not notified?
How have you not stayed there?
The Coco Motel?
Yeah.
Do you ever wonder how we're still on the air?
No.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the Indiana Gun Club. You know, the Indiana Gun Club is Indiana's premier shotgun club, located in Fortville, really just a stone's throw from Geist. So up on the Indianapolis northeast side, easy drive from anywhere in the central Indiana area. It's a place where I learned to shoot sporting clays. It's my home club to go shoot sporting clays. You can also shoot trap or skeet there. It's the home range of the Indiana Trap Association. They have their annual tournament there. Whether you're into trap, skeet, sporting clays, 5-stand, you can shoot all of those there at Indiana Gun Club. You don't have to be a member. You can just show up and shoot. You want to take a lesson, you want to learn how to shoot, you can arrange that there as well. They also have great availability for your corporate event, your fundraising event, your team building exercise, whatever you might like. You can go out, they'll set you up with a sporting clay course. They'll provide oversight. They can provide rental guns. They can cater your event. Gordon Gamilla up there, their events coordinator, is a trained chef, and he provides an awesome lunch or dinner if you want to arrange that up there and have it catered in. They can handle all of that. So if you're a business owner, an HR director, someone in charge of team building in your organization, you want to organize a fundraiser, political fundraiser or otherwise, a charity fundraiser, all those they can do out there at Indiana Gun Club and do a fabulous job. They also have a Benelli shotgun promotion going on right now where you can get a free range bag and a soft gun case with your Benelli shotgun that you buy up there. That's all $150 value. That'll come right along with your new beautiful Benelli shotgun. I'm a Benelli owner, love my Benelli M4, and they've got a lot of similar firearms on sale up there at Indiana Gun Club. Check them out at indianagunclub.com, located in Fortville. That's indianagunclub.com.
Need a new work truck? Need a new fleet vehicle? Andy Moore Ford has got you covered. Over 800 new vehicles available on the lot, including the Super Duty trucks available starting only at $43,995. You've got F-150s, transit vans, the custom work vehicles for any industry, all built Ford tough, and Rangers with that all-new body style from only $36,995. And of course, you want the cool fun stuff. They've got the Broncos, the Bronco Sports. I'm driving a Bronco. I own a Bronco Sport. And interest rates as low as 0% APR available on new Andy Moore Fords. And when you need service, Andy Moore Ford will come to you. Just schedule it online at andymoreford.com. They'll come pick up the vehicle, service it, and bring it back to you as good as new. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. Visit them on Main Street. Tell them Tony Katz sent you, or find them online at andymoreford.com. That's Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. andymoreford.com.
Hey, it's JMV. Have you been thinking about adding to the landscape all summer but haven't? Miss M's Home and Garden wants to help you solve that problem this fall. Now is a great time to plant trees and shrubs for next season. And the best part, they're 20 to 50% off. The friendly staff can help you find the right selections for your landscape. Shop now, save 20 to 50% on all container trees and shrubs, and 50% off pottery while supplies last. Miss M's on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
Tony Katz here for Premier Arms in Brownsburg. This is your premier gun store. Premier Arms has the experience and know-how to help the new gun buyer and the most experienced marksman. They've been in business for over 20 years and have a friendly, knowledgeable staff that wants to help you, not talk down to you. Premier Arms in Brownsburg is family-friendly, so bring the kids. All ages are welcome. Everyone can find what they're looking for at Premier Arms in Brownsburg, 3754 South Green Street. Online at premierarms.com. Tell them Tony Katz sent you. premierarms.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
This September, Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is back, stronger than ever. Diamonds Direct helps you get the perfect jewelry gift with 0% interest. That's right, enjoy 5 years of 0% financing on any Diamonds Direct purchase. It's your chance to get her the perfect ring with 0 interest and comfortable monthly payments that fit your budget. But act fast. This offer ends September 30th. For details and more, visit diamondsdirect.com. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Only at Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Mom, meet Sarah.
From first-time Nana moments.
Yeah, welcome to Flight 101.
To annual girls trip moments. Your can't-miss moments are worth protecting against RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV. And there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Chris Wettican here, owner of Absolute Comfort. Go to AbsoluteComfort.org to lower your monthly bills.
Savings on heating and cooling at Absolute Comfort, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Talking a little bit about the old Russian rifle, well, probably Russian, that this Ryan Routh guy had in Florida, who was attempting, apparently, to assassinate Donald Trump. The second attempt on Donald Trump's life in something like 9 weeks. Now, the first guy obviously got off several shots, including one that nicked the former president's ear. And listen, it's kind of interesting because obviously the Secret Service dropped the ball on the attack in Pennsylvania, in Butler, Pennsylvania. There's no question. I mean, there's a roof less than 150 yards away from the president, direct line of sight to where the president was going to be speaking. I mean, from the podium, and it wasn't secured. And the idiot guy up walking around there, and multiple people saw him. Multiple people told law enforcement, there's a guy on the roof. There's all this video of him. You've seen it. The guy walking around on the roof. The guy getting into a shooting position. And people are yelling, there's a guy on the roof. Why on earth? President Trump wasn't grabbed, pushed down, hauled off the stage, put into a protective vehicle before any of that happened. And it's just the most incompetent thing I could possibly imagine. It's either completely incompetent or it was intentional. And listen, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm really not. I go a long way to avoid engaging in conspiracy theories, but my God, how incompetent do you have to be not to have reacted to that situation when your job is to defend a former president's life, the life of a current nominee for president? Guy on the roof, he's got a gun. Oh, yeah, well, maybe somebody ought to maybe take a look at that. In the meantime, you let him go on the stage. It makes no damn sense. It just really doesn't. It just doesn't make any sense that people could really be that incompetent. And after the second thing happened in Florida, then a lot of people are jumping on the Secret Service's case again, saying, oh, look, it happened again. You failed to prevent it a second time. And I've seen a lot of criticism. And listen, as god-awful, as inexcusable as their performance was in Butler, Pennsylvania, I've got a lot less criticism on this one in Florida, and I'm a little surprised at the rhetoric you're seeing about, well, you let it happen again. First of all, this guy got off no shots. He was detected, and as soon as he was detected, they shot at the guy. Now, they didn't hit him, so I would have liked to have seen a little better marksmanship, and I wish this guy was as dead as the dude in Butler, Pennsylvania. He survived those shots, but it kept him from taking a shot at the president, and it apparently prevented the president from getting within a direct line of sight of this guy, where the guy never had a shot at the president, never got a shot off. And listen, as beat up as the Secret Service needs to be and ought to be, and appropriately is, over the Butler, Pennsylvania area event, I've got a lot less criticism of what happened in Florida because they stopped the guy. They shot at him. They interrupted the attempt. Now, could they have done better? Could they have patrolled that perimeter? Yes. Could they have cleared that area before Trump ever got there? Yes. Could they have had more people on the golf course? Could they have set up a perimeter to have prevented the guy from ever taking a shooting position in the first place? Absolutely. So I'm not saying there's not room for improvement. There obviously is. And they got a little lucky because this guy had absolutely no clue what he was doing as a sniper. Now, he apparently was some self-perceived mercenary. The guy actually went to Ukraine, actually flew over there, and was supposedly trying to bring in soldiers to help Ukraine in their war with Russia. Was trying to get Afghans, former members of the Afghan army, and was even contacted people saying, I can get members of the Afghan army in here to help you, and apparently was trying to make money in doing so, which was interesting. And how he has the pull to do that, in my mind, more than likely means he was a little delusional, or a lot delusional. I saw a post where he was saying he could deliver some tens of thousands of Afghan soldiers to Haiti to help with security after the devastation that Haiti's gone through. And who this guy was, what connection he had to Afghan soldiers, what pull he had to deliver people, and how he was trying to get money from people in order to deliver on those services is all beyond me. I have no idea what the answers to those questions are. But in the meantime, he's some self-perceived commando or mercenary or soldier or something, even though I haven't seen anything that indicates he ever served. But he clearly knew absolutely nothing about being a sniper. And listen, I'm not trying to put the word out on how somebody can do a better job the next time. But I will tell you that to allow the muzzle of your rifle to stick out from your concealment is about as dumb a thing as you can possibly do if you're trying to operate as a sniper. Anybody who's trained as a sniper knows you want to be completely undetectable. You want to back into your concealment. I'm calling it concealment here instead of cover because how we differentiate cover from concealment is cover is something that'll stop a bullet. Cover is something that actually gives you protection from incoming rounds. Concealment is just that. It just means it prevents you from being seen. A shadow or darkness can be concealment. Doesn't stop a bullet by any means. But it prevents you from being seen. So in shrubbery, behind a chain link fence, concealment. But you back as far into that as you possibly can to avoid being seen. You see snipers set up like you'll see movies, for instance, poorly done movies, poorly produced movies, movies that don't have good technical advisors. And you'll see a sniper with a muzzle of his gun sticking 6 inches or a foot out of a window. And if that's supposed to be some trained sniper, according to the plot of the movie, know right now that that's a lousy production because that's completely the opposite of what a sniper would. A sniper would back way back into the room. Be way back in the back of the room, in the darkness of the room. Undetected. So you got a 10-foot longer shot, so what? If you're shooting at a couple, 300-400 yards or more anyway, you add a little distance to your shot. In the meantime, you're not seen. You crack the window just a little bit. I've seen snipers set up to where they've got just a little hole in a wall they can shoot through, and another little hole in the wall that they're actually looking through with their optic, because their optic is 2.5 inches above the bore of their rifle. That's how much they value concealment. This guy did just the opposite. He sticks the muzzle of his gun out of the bushes, which is exactly what the Secret Service agent saw. And what better indication you're about to have an assassination attempt than somebody with a rifle muzzle sticking out of a bush along the golf course where the former president's playing. So thank God, by the grace of God, this guy had no clue what he was doing. And you might say, well, the bushes weren't thick enough for him to back way into it. It would have been visible from the other side. Okay, then that's a lousy place for a sniper. And I don't say any of this to criticize the guy. I say it to say we're all lucky that he was incompetent and no clue what he was doing. In the meantime, I'll tell you what, we've had a couple of people call in with questions. We're going to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. You can join the discussion, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. We come back, we're going to shift gears a little bit, go into a different topic, but also take your calls when we come back. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
The rhetoric of the left. I mean, this guy was using the exact same words that Biden and Harris have been using. The right is not out there shooting at Joe Biden.
Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump the biggest threat to America since the Civil War. Many people are saying lone wolf. I'm questioning whether he truly was a lone wolf.
Well,
and I think many people are.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
High five. Up top. Heck yeah.
Dave's company just got the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business.
Yeah, 5 years.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
High five for gig speed.
5 years of advanced security.
Security win.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Our rate ain't changing.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability.
There it is.
He hasn't given this many high fives since Deborah brought in her famous banana bread.
Woohoo!
Now he's got savings.
I'm so excited.
Yep, Dave's feeling it. But it's only for a limited time, so don't wait. Switch today and ask how to get the first ever 5-year price lock guarantee from Comcast Business. Powering 5 years of savings. Powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
And it's hurting, but I am not stopping.
A qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Indiana Foundation Service. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at indianafoundation.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Absolute Comfort, your American Standard air dealer serving Central Indiana.
Fox News. I'm Deborah Valentine. Former President Trump campaigning in the battleground state of North Carolina today. The Republican nominee rejecting the idea of a second presidential debate on CNN.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down.
The campaign for Democratic nominee Harris says she's accepted an October 23rd debate on CNN. Meanwhile, Harris's VP pick, Governor Tim Walz in Minnesota, rallying in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania today.
For so many of their families, we recognize a painful anniversary of the landfall of Hurricane Maria. Devastating impact.
There on Democratic nominee Harris's statement in which she joined Puerto Ricans in mourning their losses and honoring the island's resilience after that hurricane struck 7 years ago. America's listening to Fox News.
Whether it's the good food or the friendly mood, you can count on Indiana to never lose when it comes to tailgating. And we want to see you at every game. That's why Hubler's got you covered with the best warranty around. So kick off the season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Choose from over 2,000 Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes and models. Certified. Luxury. Even the hard-to-find ones. Every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty and includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Keep the tradition alive, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles.
Hubler's got you covered.
Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 12 locations.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I'll tell you, we've had some people who have been on hold for a while, so let's go to the phone lines. And Ken has called. Ken, welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Got a question about an out-of-state gun transfer. My sister, it's within a family member, and it's from an inherited gun. My father passed, 30 years ago. My sister no longer wants it and wanted to give it to me. I saw there was something in the law which said I could do it without going through an FFL, but I want to make sure I'm not putting her in any jeopardy because Michigan has registration and she has to go to the state police to clear that. Can you give me any insights on that?
Yeah, I cannot. As you know, because you already mentioned it, the safest way to do it is do it through an FFL. There are some exceptions out there under some circumstances for the distribution of assets of an estate to beneficiaries of the estate, a state across state lines. How that works in a state like Michigan that has gun registration, though, Ken, I hate to admit ignorance, but I really don't know. There may be separate requirements because of Michigan law that I'm just completely unaware of. So unfortunately, like I said, I hate to admit the inability to answer anybody's questions, but that's one I would, in order to answer and be confident in my answer, I'd want to actually do some research on. So unfortunately, I can't give you a definitive answer because there's that imponderable of dealing with it as a Michigan resident under Michigan law. Let's go back to the phone lines, and Annie has called. Annie, what you got for us?
Hi, Guy. I have two questions for you today, if I might be allowed to stay on the air long enough to get them both out. The first is, I'm a Texan, and I remember hearing back when that the coroner in Dallas that was doing the autopsy on Oswald, that two federal agents came in. They had a rifle with them. If I remember correctly, it was a Russian SKS, but I'm not sure. Maybe you remember what Oswald supposedly killed Kennedy with. These two agents took this rifle, put Oswald's fingerprints, his hand around it to get the fingerprints on the gun, and they both told the coroner if he ever talked, not only would they get him, and if he wasn't afraid for his own life, they would get his family. So the coroner kept quiet for many years, but as you know, when old men are close to dying, they talk to get the truth out when they have nothing else to lose. Was it an SKS that Oswald supposedly killed Kennedy with? Any thinking person knows that Oswald said, I didn't kill him, I'm a patsy, I've been set up, and I'm a dead man walking. Was it an SKS?
That's really an interesting question, Annie. And, I'm straining my memory. I do not believe so, because I want to say the rifle that Oswald allegedly used to kill Kennedy was a bolt action. I want to say it was Russian, though. And, Oswald went and spent time in Russia. I think maybe even attempted to become a Russian citizen at some point, renounced, I should say, his U.S. citizenship. I know that, but then came back and then later on accused of killing JFK. But I want to say it was a bolt-action rifle. And you know what? I have good enough Google skills. If I were thinking, I would have just Googled it right here in the middle of our conversation. I did not do that. I want to say it was bolt-action because, get this, you know how you string things together in your head. I actually am thinking about the scene in Full Metal Jacket where Lee Ermey just did such a fabulous job as the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket, and he's talking about the performance as a marksman. And he hasn't identified who the person was, but he's talking about this person got their training, from the U.S. military, and he was able to take this many shots in this amount of time. And I want to say he said with a old bolt-action Russian rifle, and was able to still get those shots on target and a headshot at that from that distance. And it turned out to be Oswald he was talking about. But I'm going to have to Google that one during a break because I'm sorry, I really don't recall. But I want to say no. And then if it's a Russian bolt-action military rifle, that would pretty much make it a Mosin Nagant. But I'd have to look into that one. And you might be right. It might be an SKS. The time frame is right. They've been around since 1945. And so the Kennedy assassination, I want to say 64, 63 in that time frame. When I was 6 or 7 years old. So, but I'll have to look that one up. And I apologize, Annie, I don't have more definitive information for you. I'll tell you what, we're right at the 3/4 hour, so it's a perfect time to take a break. We've had more people call in. Feel free to join the discussion, 317-239-9393. We'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
In Detroit, Kamala rolls out this bizarre accent.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave.
I would love it if that's how she talked in meetings. Kamala Harris goes up there sounding like Foghorn Leghorn. I'll say, somebody better turn the Fox News off the television.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is our Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class, and we've got one of those coming up actually in Avon. We'd love to have you there. It's going to be on November 9th from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range. This is 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. You can get all that information, including a detailed discussion of the law of self-defense, when you are and are not justified in using deadly force, when you can point a firearm legally at someone, because otherwise, if you're not justified, pointing a firearm in Indiana at someone is a level 6 felony where you can go to prison. But if you're justified, it's entirely legal. Well, what's the difference? When are you justified? When are you not? That's just one of the many, many, many topics we get into. How you avoid a charge like intimidation with a deadly weapon or criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon, and much, much, much more. It's 4.5 again to maybe 5 hours at the outset. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the latest. We get you out of there at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range in Avon. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. Check it out online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at Universal Windows Direct. Call my guys at Universal Windows Direct. 317-659-7574. At Universal Windows Direct, their Super Spacer technology makes their windows last up to 5 times longer than other Windows systems. So your windows from Universal Windows Direct perform better and last longer. Plus, Universal Windows Direct backs it up with a true 20-year warranty. And listen to this deal going on with Universal Windows Direct. Call today at 317-659-7574, and for every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 free. Buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, get 4. Buy 20, get 20. There's no limit. Plus, what a deal, 0% financing for 60 months. That's right, 0% financing for 60 months. Restrictions apply. For the last windows you'll ever need, go to UWD.com. UWD.com. UWD.com.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like your neighbor Brett.
We did Galaxy for the sidewalks and also the porch. The porch had a few pits. Galaxy said that was no problem.
Home or business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings got you covered.
Obviously with the front sidewalk and step, so we didn't worry about any kind of slipping. You know, you're concerned about that after rain. And then when it did dry, it didn't spot, it didn't stain. It was just like it had been done yesterday.
Lots of styles to choose from. 4 times stronger than epoxy and a 15-year warranty.
One thing that my wife commented on was how easy the Galaxy coating swept versus just the bare concrete.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
We moved here recently. I didn't even think twice about calling anyone else but Galaxy to come do this house.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com. Shh. The silence you just heard? You could have used that space to reach your customers. Get your message in front of your customers. Text business to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Addiction. It's hard on those who struggle with it, but those who love the addict need support too. Matt Baer and Ryan Hedrick provide help and hope with Supporting Sobriety. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on WIBC.com. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. It's okay, tell the truth. How many of you out there just Googled what the rifle was used in the JFK assassination? And I was mostly wrong in my trying to answer Annie's question. It was not a Russian rifle at all, but the only thing I was right about is it was a bolt action. And was an infantry rifle, although not Russian. It was Italian. Carcano probably is a better pronunciation. Made in Italy. Apparently his was made in 1940. It did have a very, what looks to be a pretty primitive, although appropriate for the time frame, a pretty primitive optic on it. But it is a bolt action infantry rifle, but Italian, and a Carcano in 6.5. Interesting. I have a brand new 6.5 Creedmoor myself that I haven't even done the barrel break in nor zeroed the optic. I've only bore sighted it. That is with a laser bore sighter, so I've got kind of a rough zero on it, but I'd love to get out and get that done. Probably going to be after this jury trial I have starting September 30th. I'm going to be pretty swamped till then. As I mentioned, not even doing the show next weekend. But yeah, in 6.5 millimeter, 6.5 by 52 is this Carcano, used by, allegedly anyway, used by Lee Harvey Oswald to kill JFK, at least according to the Warren Commission. So if you could buy into that, but at full confessions for me, I had to Google it because I really didn't remember. The only thing I had right was a bolt action infantry rifle, but there we go to that. So Annie, if you're still listening, you got an answer to that question. I see on the YouTube chat a couple of people, Trashman and Kelly and Avon, as you would expect, jumped out and accurately, David, all identified the Carcano. So I had to Google it. Full confessions from me as a horrible performance by the quote-unquote gun guy. I will have you know. But you know what? To go back to that scene from Full Metal Jacket, man, what the drill instructor was trying to say in terms of being a rifleman trained by the United States Marine Corps and the impressive marksmanship at issue. I'm telling you, you got to give the devil his due here. Here, quite literally, give the devil his due. because this is a pretty primitive-looking rifle with a pretty primitive-looking optic on it. And I don't know exactly what the distance was. By the way, the date was November 22nd, 1963. So I had said 64 or late 63. Yeah, it was November 22nd, 1963, date of the JFK assassination. So I don't think you can downplay the marksmanship involved there. So was he an evil bastard? Yes. Did he kill a beloved U.S. president? Absolutely. But you got to give the devil his due when it comes to marksmanship. I'll tell you what, we're coming up on the top of the hour, so we're gonna hold off on getting into our next subject. We'll talk a little bit. I talk about this new rifle I got. I'm also in the process of getting a new rifle. I got a new suppressor as well, and so in fact, I've gotten a couple of suppressors here in the last couple of months, and I want to talk a little bit about Class 3. A lot of times, that's just kind of a shortcut way of saying matters or items, firearms, regulated by the National Firearms Act of 1934. And there we're talking about things that you have to have, essentially special permission from the government to possess. I'll talk about the status, likelihood that law is going to be upheld long-term. An awful lot of gun control laws are being challenged since the Supreme Court's decision in the Bruen case here in 2022. A lot of gun laws are being overturned. And we've seen a Supreme Court who's willing to do a pretty expansive job in terms of taking a hard look at whether or not current gun control laws, even though they may have been around since, in some cases, 1968, through the Gun Control Act of 1968. A lot of those came in. A lot of the laws were added as part of the Brady Bill in 1994. But I think they'd be fully willing to go back and look at 1934 as well to see what's constitutional and what's not, and what are the kind of items that are regulated by the NFA. Well, first of all, the National Firearms Act 1934 was largely motivated by Hollywood. I mean, it was a time when gangster movies were all the rage, man. People are going out and they're talking about Capone and Dillinger and Bonnie and Clyde and all those people. And listen, some of those may have come along after 1934, but my point is that Hollywood is showing these gangsters out shooting up the countryside, shooting up banks, killing law enforcement officers, and a lot of times they were using Tommy guns. They were using fully automatic firearms. And so Congress decided to get involved, and when Congress gets involved, especially motivated by Hollywood, bad things are going to happen. But I'll tell you, we'll get into that in more detail when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Need a new work truck? Need a new fleet vehicle? Andy Moore Ford has got you covered. Over 800 new vehicles available on the lot, including the Super Duty trucks available starting only at $43,995. You've got F-150s, transit vans, the custom work vehicles for any industry, all built Ford tough, and Rangers with that all-new body style from only $36,995. And of course, you want the cool fun stuff. They've got the Broncos, the Bronco Sports. I'm driving a Bronco. I own a Bronco Sport. And interest rates as low as 0% APR available on new Andy Moore Fords. And when you need service, Andy Moore Ford will come to you. Just schedule it online at andymoreford.com. They'll come pick up the vehicle, service it, and bring it back to you as good as new. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. Visit them on Main Street. Tell them Tony Cat sent you, or find them online at andymoreford.com. That's Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R.
I love Andy.
andymoreford.com.
There's no substitute for experience, and that's especially true when we're talking about teenagers learning to drive. You teach them the basics, but what about those things drivers don't encounter every day? Hey, I'm Matt Baer, here to tell you about Rule the Road Indiana. It's a hands-on experience at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway just for teenage drivers that provides practical knowledge and skills that go beyond regular driver education programs. So, for instance, a controlled braking course and evasive maneuvering course where young drivers learn how to maintain control while avoiding collisions. It is taught by police officers and professional driving instructors. Saturday, September 28th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's free. All you need to do is sign up at ruletheroadindiana.com. Lunch is provided, and American medal-winning swimmer Ryan Murphy and IndyCar driver Stingray Robb and defending two-time Indy 500 champ Joseph Newgarden will be on hand signing autographs. Rule the Road Indiana, brought to you free by Alliance Highway Safety, September 28th at IMS. Register now at ruletheroadindiana.com.
Attention all Hoosiers, a historically important election is headed our way. The time to prepare for the election is now. Are you registered to vote? Do you have a plan to vote? The Indiana Secretary of State's office wants to remind you, registering to vote or updating your registration is fast, easy, and can be done online at indianavoters.com. You must be registered 30 days before Election Day, so get registered and get out to vote. This message is sponsored by the Indiana Secretary of State's office.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Fox News. Speaking at a rally in Wilmington, North Carolina, former President Donald Trump spoke about his plans to cut energy costs if reelected.
We're going to get your energy costs down in 1 year. We're going to get your energy costs down by 50%. We'll cut it in half. We're going to cut it in half. It means young people will once again be able to afford a mortgage and a home.
The former president also announcing that he is against the prospect of doing yet another presidential debate with Vice President Kamala Harris. The Secret Service now admitting that a lack of communication was a factor in the first assassination attempt on former President Trump's life. Fox's Madeline Rivera recaps Friday's Secret Service briefing.
Acting Secret Service Director Ron Rowe admits the Secret Service did not give clear instructions to local authorities.
An assurance review has identified deficiencies in the advanced planning and its implementation by Secret Service personnel.
The agency's internal report details how personnel on the ground relied on phones instead of radios to send information out on the day of the rally. That meant the Secret Service did not know how focused local and state police were in trying to find the suspect, Thomas Crooks. Secret Service also knew from the beginning that securing the rally site in Butler was going to be a challenge. There was even concern about the position of the local tactical team who were stationed on the second floor of the building from where the suspect fired his shots.
But there was no follow-up about changing their location to the roof, for instance. President Biden meeting privately today with other world leaders at his Delaware estate ahead of the Quad meeting. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida already, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi are meeting with the president. Biden says China continues to behave aggressively in the South China Sea. America's listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcast Network.
I'm Emily Campagno, and this is the Fox True Crime Podcast.
And I had nothing to do with her disappearance, but people still accuse me of it.
I sit down with the people who lived the nightmares.
I was in shock. I was just devastated.
The investigators who tirelessly worked on the case.
I feel for their families, and I really hope that they can catch this guy.
Bringing you closer to the story than you ever thought possible.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network. Listen to the all-new Bret Baier podcast featuring Common Ground, talking to lawmakers weekly from opposite sides of the political spectrum about the issues of the day and how Americans can find common ground in a politicized world.
That's just not happening on Capitol Hill. It takes leadership, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Along with all your Bret Baier favorites like the campaign, the candidates, the all-star panel, and much more. Available now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Speaking at a rally in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Minnesota Governor
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Watch out for the scam. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Law enforcement officials say some scammers are now pretending to represent the Indiana Toll Road in order to take your money. With this scam, you may get a text message from the supposed toll road explaining that you have an outstanding toll charge and you could incur late fees if you wait to pay. Then there may be a link. Officials are urging you to not click the link, as these messages are not legitimate. If you see one of these messages, you are urged to ignore it and/or delete it immediately. Learn more at WIBC.com. But the new Green Alert system was used for the first time this week. Veteran Justin Cabin of Indianapolis was reported missing Monday. By Thursday, he was found safe.
It's really just an example of incredible teamwork by multiple agencies and then the community at large.
State Representative Mitch Gore helped create the Green Alert. He says police and the community pulled off a textbook example of a successful Green Alert. The autumn equinox is this weekend in the Northern Hemisphere, making Sunday the first day of the fall season. That means Sunday the sun will be directly over the equator, dividing night and day into 2 equal parts. For the next 3 months, the days will get shorter until the winter solstice on December 21st. The average price for gas across the state is currently $3.19 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. That's on par with the national average of $3.20. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, partly cloudy, low temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. And for tomorrow, showers are likely, which will bring much needed rain to the area. High temperatures in the upper 70s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
We believe strongly in the power of education.
We also understand the impact it has on the success of communities across Indiana.
We see this through our work at the IHSAA, teaching 160,000 student athletes through education-based athletics.
And we see this through our work at Ivy Tech, where over 90,000 Indiana high school students are earning dual college credit while finishing high school.
I'm IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig.
And I'm Dr. Sue Ellsperman, President of Ivy Tech Community College.
We're proud to partner with organizations like Ivy Tech that prioritize education and community.
At Ivy Tech, we have more than 70 programs,
helping Indiana high school students get a head start on college and their careers.
We offer the state's most affordable tuition and have saved families over $100 million this year.
Providing learning opportunities for Hoosier students is how we build a strong Indiana. This is the power of community.
This is the impact of education.
This is your IHSAA.
Hammer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're glad you're with us. And, I was talking before the break about how I'd gotten a bunch of questions about the gun used by, or attempted to be used by the guy in Florida who was obviously there to try to kill President Trump. And I was talking about that rifle. What's really interesting is I saw a headline. I didn't read the article because I knew what it was going to say. But I saw a headline from, I don't know, it was MSNBC or CNN, one of the liberally biased news organizations. And it said, alleged Trump assassin may expand gun laws with defense. And I read that and I thought about that for a minute and I thought, okay, what defense could this guy have that could lead to an expanse of gun laws or gun rights? And that was the headline, expanse of gun rights. And it was kind of a, oh no, hand waving in the air kind of a tone to it. So I just kind of glanced it over quickly to confirm that my guess was right, and it was, that the direction they took that discussion in is that right now, that guy hasn't been charged with attempted murder. And I'm sure they're building their case, they're reviewing their evidence, and they'll decide what ultimate charges he faces if and when he goes to trial or is faced with formal charges for everything that they believe they can prove at trial. But for the time being, the only charges that I've seen against the guy are possession of a firearm by a felon and possession of a firearm with obliterated serial numbers. And let's talk about those a little bit. And what they were talking about, obviously, was the possession of a firearm by a felon. And they were saying, well, this guy will likely challenge the constitutionality of that law. And given the split among the courts currently on whether the federal law that says you can't possess a gun if you have any felony conviction at all, there is a split among the courts that ultimately, if the Supreme Court takes that up, this Supreme Court is likely to say that it's unconstitutional, and this guy could win his case and expand gun rights in America in the process. And I looked at all that, and I thought, this bears some discussion on the Gun Guy Show. Because first of all, where's all that come from? The statute that says it's illegal to possess a gun if you have any felony conviction, that comes out of federal law. It's 18 U.S.C. 922G, and it's actually G1 if I remember correctly. And it says you can't possess firearms. It's illegal to possess a firearm if you have a conviction for any crime for which the maximum penalty is over 1 year. That's the wording of the federal statute. I've defended cases involving that law in federal court, and that's sort of shortened and simplified to say you can't have a gun with a felony conviction, because in most states, including Indiana, that's what separates misdemeanors from felonies, is the maximum penalty for a particular crime. It doesn't matter what you were sentenced to. That's what throws people off all the time. It doesn't matter what you are sentenced to. Let's say you're charged with a low-level felony, a level 6 felony. I mentioned when I was pitching the Indiana gun law class that I teach, that pointing a firearm, if the gun's loaded, then pointing a firearm is a level 6 felony. Okay, well, you can do up to 18 months in jail, I believe is the maximum penalty for a level 6 felony. So the maximum penalty is over 1 year. Well, let's say you have no criminal history and you plead guilty, but you leave the sentence open and allow the judge to sentence you to whatever the judge decides to sentence. So you plead guilty, but you go in and your lawyer can argue for, you got to get probation only, or you ought to get some minimum number of days in jail, some minimal number of days in jail. And a prosecution could say, oh no, this guy should do the maximum, and then the judge ultimately decides. And let's say the judge decides that he's sentencing you to the full 18 months, but he's suspending all 18 months. And so you have 0 days in jail or only 2 days with credit for time served if you got arrested and spent the night in jail. You get credit for 2 days. Therefore, you spend no days in jail. So that's it. And you go do your probation, you comply with terms of probation, the case is over, you go on about life. And what a lot of people remember about that is that they didn't get any jail time. And actually, the maximum penalty for a level 6 felony, as I'm thinking about that, is actually 2.5 years. The sentence ranges from 6 months to 2.5 years. But the point is the maximum is over a year. Therefore, that level of crime is a felony. And people, especially if it's been a while, because there are times, let's say you're my age, well, I'm 66 years old. Let's say you got convicted of something in your early 20s. Well, hell, a quarter of a century's gone by. Plus, right? Damn near half a century. And so you don't remember that all that well, and you're thinking, man, what was I was convicted of something? What was that? Oh, yeah, but I didn't do any time in jail. Then you're in filling out the form in the gun store, and so have you ever been convicted of a crime for which the maximum sentence is over a year? Or it may just say felony conviction. You'll look at that and go, I don't think so. Because I didn't do any time in jail, so it couldn't have been that significant. So you say no. Well, now you're in trouble because it turns out if they find that conviction on your record, which they all, in all likelihood, will. And by the way, convictions don't just fall off. I hear that all the time. People thought, well, that was 30 years ago. That was 25 years ago. So I thought it would have fallen off by now. I hear that term all the time from potential clients or clients. You mean that didn't fall off my record? Guess what? Convictions don't fall off your record. They just don't. If you got convicted of something, it's on your record, period. Now, record keeping wasn't all that good 30 or 40 or more years ago. And is there some possibility you were a small county somewhere, you got convicted of something that never made its way into the federal databases? Possibly. That it never made its way into your national criminal histories at all, just because of poor record keeping. That can happen with things that are really, really old. But if you're convicted of something, that conviction, especially felony convictions, but it includes misdemeanors, they don't just fall off. It's on there forever. Now, you can have an expungement where you can have the record sealed for some level of crimes, and you can get your rights back after having lost them because it's a felony conviction, which is the subject I'm talking about. But they don't just fall off on their own. But the law says if you have any conviction for any crime where the maximum penalty is over a year, you can't possess a firearm. And a lot of people just shorthand that to say felony conviction because that's what separates felonies from misdemeanors. Felonies are crimes for which the maximum sentence is over a year. So federal law says can't possess a gun with a felony conviction. Is that a constitutional law? Especially under the Bruin test the Supreme Court came out with in 2022. Because that says, first of all, the law, the Constitution, the Second Amendment protects your ability to own bearable arms. In the Heller case from 2008, it said that includes those arms lawfully used, commonly used for lawful purposes by U.S. citizens. And then in Bruin, they said that in order to be constitutional, the law has to be consistent with the history and tradition of the regulation of Second Amendment rights in this country. So we go back and look at the founding and to some degree look at the timing or the laws in place at the time of the passing of the 14th Amendment, which allowed the Second Amendment to apply to the states through the 14th Amendment, to something called incorporation, meaning the law applies to the states as well. Bill of Rights really was written originally to apply to the federal government. And through the 14th Amendment now, the courts have said that those protections in the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment, also apply to the states. So it's 1868, I believe. So we were looking at those time frames. So is there a history and tradition in this country of saying that someone, just because they have a prior conviction on their record that had a certain maximum penalty, that person cannot possess a firearm? Now, in the Rahimi case, it just came down earlier this year. They looked at the law that says that people under domestic violence orders of protection. And they said, okay, here, somebody hasn't been convicted of anything, but they're subject to a domestic violence order of protection. Is the law constitutional as to them? Is there a history and tradition of saying those kinds of people, those people subject to a domestic violence order of protection can't possess a firearm? And there they said, well, you know what? If a person has been determined by a court to be a danger to another person, and that's the prerequisite for a domestic violence order of protection, where they've been adjudicated to be a danger to another person, we're okay with that. That's consistent with the history and tradition of the regulation of gun rights in the United States. So there you go, determined, that is adjudicated, found in a court to be a danger to other people. So you may say, well, there you go. That's going to capture felonies. Really? All felonies? What if a felony is completely nonviolent? And for instance, one of the felonies that this Ryan Routh guy, the alleged assassin from the Florida attempt against former President Trump, one of his convictions is receiving stolen property or possession of stolen property. That's not violent. Now, the other one is possession of a weapon of mass destruction, and another one is possession of a fully automatic machine gun. Now, but again, interesting, possession charges, not charges resulting from the use of a machine gun against anyone, not charges resulting from the detonation of a weapon of mass destruction, because in his case, it was explosives. Some people are tying those two things together and say, yeah, he's convicted of having a weapon of mass destruction because he had a machine gun. Now, there's two separate charges. There was a machine gun charge, and there was a weapon of mass destruction charge that relates to an explosive that he had in his conviction, in his possession, along with detonation cord, what we call det cord. So, but those are possession charges. They're not violent charges, or charges arising out of an actual act of violence. It's getting pretty close, but it's possession only. So, what if something's nonviolent? Amy Coney Barrett, now on the Supreme Court, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, when she was on the Seventh Circuit, which actually includes Indiana, she wrote a dissenting opinion, meaning she was in the minority, so her side lost on the 3-judge panel. But she wrote a minority opinion saying that the law is unconstitutional if it's a nonviolent felony. And there are cases out there right now that they're trying to get review in the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court may have already decided not to hear these, but similar cases are going to go up. One, a guy lied on an application for food stamps. Talk about a nonviolent felony. Did he lie? Yes. Another one was a bad check case. A lady wrote bad checks, I think, to buy food when she was broke. As nonviolent as you can get, still a felony. Have those people been adjudicated to be a danger to another person within the language of this Rahimi case from the Supreme Court? Absolutely not. Possession of stolen property, as Ryan Routhguy was convicted of, that's not violent. So is the law that says that because of that charge, now again, you've got the machine gun charge and the weapon of mass destruction charge, which may change things a little bit. But again, they're nonviolent. The Supreme Court says that if your charge didn't actually involve an act of violence, such that you've been determined to be dangerous, then the law is unconstitutional. Now, it's a little goofy, as this oh my God, oh no, hand-waving article I was reading was trying to make out. It's a little unreasonable to say this guy's case is going to change gun rights in America, because we're just at the very, very early stages. Who knows what's going to happen to this guy? And if he gets convicted of, say, attempted murder, all that goes out the window because they don't have to rely on some nonviolent possession charge to say that he's prohibited possessor. And there are a whole lot of cases out there in the system that are way ahead of him. To get a case before the Supreme Court, you got to go to trial, you got to lose. Then you got to challenge the constitutionality of your conviction under the law you were found guilty under. Then you got to go up. If you're in the state system, you got to go all the way through the state system, then try to get it over to the Supreme Court. Or if you're already prosecuted in the federal system, which he's likely to be, since these are federal charges, possession of a gun as a felon, because it's a federal law. All right, so you go through the trial court, you get convicted. Then he's got to go to the Circuit Court of Appeals. Florida, I believe, is in the 11th Circuit. I don't know. I'm guessing a lot today. I already had somebody call me and tell me they wanted to educate me on the JFK assassination. Hey, man, I was just trying to answer Andy's question. So, sorry, I failed my memory test on that one. Although my boys on YouTube came in and fixed it for me. But at any rate, the federal statute, if you have to go through the federal system, go, I believe, to the 11th Circuit, if I got that one right, and then go up to the Supreme Court after that. There are many cases well ahead of this guy in the system where that's very likely to be resolved. But it's an interesting discussion, are the current charges this guy faces. Again, possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. At the time of the founding, serial numbers weren't required. Serial numbers are a relatively recent invention, relatively speaking, compared to the time of the founding, or 1868. And the requirement for serial numbers is even a more recent invention. And the crime for possessing a gun without serial numbers or obliterated serial numbers is even a more recent invention. Is that going to withhold scrutiny under the Bruin test? So notwithstanding the silly tone of this article raises an interesting question. The very statutes the guy is currently charged with, I think we're going to see attempted murder hit some point. So all this discussion goes out the window. But as to what he's currently charged with, interesting discussion as to whether or not those are actually constitutional or not. Right now, we're way past the quarter hour. It's time to take a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential votes of our lifetime.
Who will be our next governor?
U.S. Senator. Our next president.
Who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice with your one vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs?
You can do something about it.
Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
It's how you can stand up for your beliefs,
your values,
and for future generations. A reminder to make your vote count on November 5th. November
5th.
From WIBC
and Urban One.
Guy Relford for RockOp Defense Solutions. I got to tell you, we've got a fabulous high-end AR manufacturer located right here in central Indiana, and these are friends of mine, and I have one of their rifles. I have a Rod 15, AR-15 rifle, and it is a fabulous rifle. It is as high-end, and I've got nice ARs from other manufacturers. This is as nicer than any rifle I own, and it was manufactured right here in central Indiana in Avon by RockOp Defense Solutions. These guys offer cradle-to-customer quality control. They hand-match their parts. They hand-build their rifles, and they do just an absolutely beautiful job. I know because I'm an owner. You can check them out at Rock-Op Defense. You can see what they have to offer as far as sales. They've got upgrade services there. They can do reliability services. They can do Cerakoting. They can thread your barrel. You want to add a suppressor. There's a whole lot they can do right there in addition to selling you a brand new fighting rifle that's as fine as any rifle available anywhere and manufactured by hand right here in central Indiana. They assemble them by hand because they hand match the parts. I've watched them do it. It's a fabulous experience, and it produces a fabulous rifle. Check them out at Rock-Op Defense. Our fighting rifle manufacturers right here in central Indiana. That's rock-opdefense.com.
Everyone's talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like business owner Brian.
Yeah, Galaxy was great. We have a business where a lot of the service techs are working out in the field, and they'll come in and they'll have even some mud or something on our shoes. So if we're having a meeting, I needed a flooring that could stand up to that, but still look good as an office setting.
Well, if you own a home or a business, Galaxy Concrete Coatings got you covered.
Galaxy was great to work around our schedule. They were able to come in on a Saturday, and the job was completed over the weekend, and we were back in business, so we didn't miss a step.
Lots of styles to choose from. 4 times stronger than epoxy and a 15-year warranty.
It's very nice looking. It's very durable. Really makes the room stand out and shine.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
Galaxy was quick to respond. They were quick to give us a solution and quick to get it completed as well. And they're going to take care of you.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Hey, this is Malia. We often get asked when is the best time to buy, and the answer is today, not tomorrow. With rising utility costs, rising product costs, and missed opportunity costs, which you could be saving with a high-efficiency system. Give us a call today to schedule your free in-depth estimate, 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is your place for fine jewelry, custom pieces, one-of-a-kind pieces, vintage pieces, and also your place to sell jewelry. 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms. You have old jewelry from grandma or jewelry you don't wear anymore? Come sell it for top dollar at PA Jewelers. I've sold jewelry there. My wife has. You're going to love the prices. PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms, 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, PremierArms.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This September, Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is back, stronger than ever. Diamonds Direct helps you get the perfect jewelry gift with 0% interest. That's right. Enjoy 5 years of 0% financing on any Diamonds Direct purchase. It's your chance to get her the perfect ring with 0 interest and comfortable monthly payments that fit your budget. But act fast. This offer ends September 30th. For details and more, visit DiamondsDirect.com. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Only at Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Indy Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today. IndyHumane.org.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Yeah, welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'll tell you what, Aaron has been on hold for quite a while. So let's go to the phone lines and welcome Aaron. Aaron, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Thank you, Guy. I appreciate it.
Sure, man.
Just had a question about my brother passed recently, and he has a pretty good, well, thank you, has a pretty good arsenal of firearms and a very large gun safe. And I talked to a recently retired Indy Metro policeman to ask him what's the best way to sell those. And he advised me that if the family member wants one, that there shouldn't be a problem with that, but that I should go to a federal firearms dealer to make sure everything's done right. And I just wondered, you do this a lot, and what your opinion might be.
Yeah, I mean, not the first time I've heard bad legal advice from a police officer. I love our police officers, most of them anyway. Although I tend to get crosswise with them a lot in the courtroom or in depositions. But I'm a big supporter of law enforcement, but man, they are not good at legal advice. And most of the cops I know will laugh and tell you exactly the same thing. No, I mean, what you're doing essentially is just liquidating a private collection. And to do that, you don't need a federal firearms license. You don't have to go through a federal firearms licensee. Now, just so you know, the law changed last year, and ATF regulations changed last year to make the definition of who is engaged in the business of buying and selling firearms to make that more broad than it was before. And the ATF is interpreting it more broadly, probably more broadly than what the words really warrant, in terms of saying that well, no, this person's engaged in the business because they've sold, a whole bunch of firearms. There's no number. That's one thing that's, I think, so abusive about this whole process and so unclear about the law. There's no number. And like I've been told, if you sell X number of cars, in a year, you have to be a car dealer. If you sell X number of houses, you have to have a realtor's license, right? And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been told there's a number associated with that. There's no number with guns. In fact, the ATF will say, well, you don't even have to sell a gun. If you just hold yourself out essentially as a business and offer to sell a gun, well, that's enough. Well, really? I mean, one gun? Yeah, if you're holding yourself out to be functioning as a business and you're creating the appearance that you're going to repetitively buy and sell firearms to make a profit. But the truth remains, the state of the law is, to actually answer your question, you can liquidate a private collection just to turn guns into cash because you no longer want the guns because these belong to, someone else in your family who's now passed, and you just want to liquidate that private collection. The law says you can absolutely do that yourself and not go through a dealer. Now, what I would not do, I wouldn't go to a gun show and set up a table and say, hey, look, we got all these guns for sale, because ATF is at gun shows, man. There's multiple ATF agents at every gun show, I'll guarantee you. And they're checking out who's selling guns, and they're putting you under a spotlight. But in terms of offering them to friends and liquidating a private collection, Don't try to sell them on Facebook. I can tell you that. I am kicked off Facebook. I am banned. If anybody's trying to find me on Facebook, and I got a whole bunch of followers on Facebook between my Gun Guy page and my personal page. And I don't know what the number is, but 20,000 or so between the two pages. I'm off. I'm gone. I'm banned. And it's because recently somebody asked me about cutting the foam in a case for a rifle case. And I said, oh, yeah, I had my foam cut at Wolfie's Armory out in Avon, and I showed a picture of my gun case. And yes, it had a gun in it, but I was just talking about where you can go to get the foam cut, laser cut for your firearm as a custom job. It's very cool. No mention of selling a gun whatsoever. And Facebook kicked me off completely and said you're banned and bye. So don't try to advertise them on Facebook. But you can go to like gun owners, INGO, we call it, IndianaGunOwners.com. I guess just GuyInGunOwners.com, if I remember. Kelly's on there all the time. Kelly will tell you. And I'm sure he'll tell me on the YouTube feed. But you can put an ad on there for what you got, put pictures of them. It's totally legal. Now, is there a 100% guarantee the ATF won't come after you and say, I don't know, man, you're selling 20 guns or 30 guns or whatever the number is. Looks like you should have had a license. There is no 100% guarantee when it comes to the ATF. I'll just tell you that. So the safest way to do is to do what your police officer, retired police officer friend said, which is go through an FFL. You're not going to get near as much money for the firearms because FFLs are only going to buy them, gun stores are only going to buy them at wholesale value or less than that because they want to turn around, sell them, and make a profit. But legally, the short answer, and I've meandered off too long, especially talking about Facebook, but I'm pissed off about that, is that you can liquidate a private collection and you can do that directly. You're breaking absolutely no law in the process, but the ATF's a little out of control right that. So if you want to be completely conservative, then go ahead and go through a gun dealer. All right, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. We're taking a break here. We'll come back. We'll get into this NFA issue, which is really an interesting discussion, and continue to take your calls as well. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Another news update is minutes away.
Calling in backup and cracking down on illegal street takeovers.
Get the facts.
For Democrats, the top issue in deciding who to vote for was abortion. 50% of Republicans said was high prices. 45% of independents said high prices.
Not just the talking points.
A Kentucky sheriff is in jail charged with murdering a judge.
What events happen?
Rain tonight and then later again on Sunday.
Certainly more substantial than what we have seen.
On the level.
On the go.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
I received a call one time, and the man said, "You probably won't call me back because I'm just a nobody." I immediately called him back. Nobody's a nobody.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I always wanted to be the lawyer who represented the little guy, the voiceless, the powerless.
I was rear-ended by a car probably doing about 50 or 55 miles an hour. My car caught on fire. I'm a paraplegic, so I couldn't get out of the car. They were struggling to get me out of the vehicle. After the accident, I gave Morgan & Morgan a call, and they understood what I was going through, and they were there to help me each step of the way. It made me feel that I had people behind my back to help me and resolve the case.
I represented him, and we did well because we get the chance to help people put their lives back together and to go on as best they can after a life-altering day. There's only one you, there's only one Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 317-559-PAIN. That's 317-559-PAIN. In Eagle Creek, Greenwood, and Carmel, 317-559-PAIN.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Absolute Comfort, your American Standard air dealer serving Central Indiana.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. At his rally in North Carolina today, former President Trump turned down another debate with Vice President Harris, which he had already accepted on CNN.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down.
Meanwhile, Trump did not appear with Republican gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson, who reportedly called himself a black Nazi. Israel and Hezbollah exchanged more fire today.
The cross-border fire certainly has escalated since those attacks in Lebanon this week. Just yesterday, Hezbollah launched 200 rockets into northern Israel.
Fox's Nate Foy. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Terry Stacy, a customer of Premier Deck Coating, and they've changed our life when it comes to saving us time and money, preparing and protecting our deck year after year. Premier Deck Coating is the ultimate deck protection, sister company of Rhino Shield, locally owned. Right now, we've got black walnuts that fall from the trees that normally used to stain the deck, but no more now that we have Premier Deck Coating. It has completely transformed our deck with their special formulated product, and it's backed by a 10-year warranty. They came in, they sanded all the walking surfaces, they repaired the damaged boards, and then they applied their Protect Deck and Railing coating, and that repels mold and moisture, and it resists scratches, and it keeps our deck looking great for years to come. They can also do fences and pergolas, too. And listen to this. Right now, they're able to offer affordable monthly payments with 0% interest loans and no payments until next year to qualified customers. Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. We love what they were able to do for us. For a free quote, visit premierdeckcoating.com.
There's no substitute for experience, and that's especially true when we're talking about teenagers learning to drive. You teach them the basics, but what about those things drivers don't encounter every day? Hey, I'm Matt Bear, here to tell you about Rule the Road Indiana. It's a hands-on experience at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway just for teenage drivers that provides practical knowledge and skills that go beyond regular driver education programs. So, for instance, a controlled braking course and evasive maneuvering course where young drivers learn how to maintain control while avoiding collisions. It is taught by police officers and professional driving instructors. Saturday, September 28th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and it's free. All you need to do is sign up at ruletheroadindiana.com. Lunch is provided, and American medal-winning swimmer Ryan Murphy and IndyCar driver Stingray Robb and defending two-time Indy 500 champ Joseph Newgarden will be on hand signing autographs. Rule the Road Indiana, brought to you free by Alliance Highway Safety, September 28th at IMS. Register now at ruletheroadindiana.com.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. You know, I was just looking at the YouTube feed and a discussion on there, including my buddy Kelly and Avon, and talking about how, you know, I mentioned how serial numbers are a recent invention. And specifically, by the way, serial numbers became required in the U.S. As part of the Gun Control Act of 1968, which really was the first major federal regulation of firearms since the National Firearms Act of 1934 that I mentioned. And the Gun Control Act of 1968 is really the basis for most of the regulation that we see. The Brady Bill in 94 added a whole bunch of additional restrictions. But in 1968, I realized a connection between two different things I've talked about on the show tonight, kind of randomly. We only mentioned the JFK assassination kind of in passing because Annie called in with a question about the rifle that was used. But in talking about that, then we start talking about serial numbers and how that's a recent requirement. Yeah, recent since 1968. So sure as hell, that wasn't a requirement at the time of the founding. Which goes directly to the constitutional analysis coming out of the Bruin decision. But did you know those two things are related? That is, the Kennedy assassination and the requirement to have serial numbers on guns. You know how they're related? Is Lee Harvey Oswald actually bought his gun through the mail. He bought it mail order. And man, if you listen to liberal Democrats today, they'll say, oh, you can buy a gun on the internet, no background check required. No, you can't. No, you can't. Not from an FFL, not from a manufacturer or a dealer, and not across state lines, even as between private individuals. So no, you can't. But anyway, Lee Harvey Oswald bought his through the mail. He bought it mail order. And that is his Italian infantry rifle that he used to assassinate, allegedly, to kill JFK. And Congress decided to get involved in that, motivated by the Kennedy assassination, and said, well, we're going to do away with mail order guns. And I said, well, hold on. We're going to start passing laws controlling how guns are transferred. We got to have a way to track guns in order to determine what guns are transferred from whom to whom. Serial numbers. And so serial numbers became required as part of the Gun Control Act of 1968 in large part because of the Kennedy assassination in 1963. So interesting how things can come together when we're talking about firearms and the history of regulation of firearms in this country. I'll tell you what, let's stop it there because I'll actually go into a break on time for a change, and we'll come back and have a full session to wrap up this week's edition of the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. When we come back, if we got time, we'll continue to take calls, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Fingers in the door jam.
Oh, damn!
When stepping in it. And when the backup on 465 has you stuck.
Oh, Mom, just turn on the radio. Whoa. Sorry, Mom.
You know the backups and ways to avoid them. And you have no problem swearing.
Traffic makes Dad say much worse.
You'll be on time.
No surprise.
Matt Baird Traffic. Mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Rock Op Defense Solutions. We have a high-end AR manufacturer, rifle manufacturer for fighting rifles, both for law enforcement and the private citizen, located right here in central Indiana, in Avon, in fact. Rock Op Defense Solutions is offering some of the most high-end, well-manufactured, well-constructed AR-15 rifles available on the market today. I've got several nice rifles, and my Rod 15 from Rock Op Defense is as nicer than any rifle I own. I'm thrilled with mine. They hand match their parts when they're assembling these rifles. They hand assemble the rifles. They got complete 100% quality control from cradle to customer. These are mil spec or better, and they can put some fabulous triggers in them as well. In fact, the trigger I have in my AR from my Rod 15 from Rock Op Defense Solutions is as nice a trigger in any fighting rifle that I own. I'm a customer. I'm a big fan. You can check them out at rock-opdefense.com. That's rock-op as in operations, rock-opdefense.com. Check out their inventory. Check out their upgrade services. They can thread your barrel. They can Cerakote your firearm. They can offer you a reliability package to increase the reliability if you're having functioning problems with your rifle. They can do all those things for you and sell you an absolutely high-end fighting rifle as well. Check them out again at Rock-Op Defense, high-end rifle manufacturer located right here in central Indiana. That's rockopdefense.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whether it's the good food or the friendly mood, you can count on Indiana to never lose when it comes to tailgating. And we want to see you at every game. That's why Hubler's got you covered with the best warranty around. So kick off the season in a Hubler quality pre-owned vehicle. Choose from over 2,000 Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes and models, certified, luxury, even the hard-to-find ones. Every Hewler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. That includes a 128-point vehicle inspection, plus a free Carfax history report. Keep the tradition alive, knowing Hewler's got you covered for 100,000 miles.
Hewler's got you covered.
Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 12 locations.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-488-2594. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-488-2594. That's 800-488-2594. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Hey, it's Rob. If you want to grow your hair back, check out the precision and accuracy of the Artis Robotic FUE at We Grow Hair Indy. You'll be amazed at the permanent natural results you can get and get back to work ASAP. Darren Andrews, Clinic Director of We Grow Hair Indy, is here to tell us more.
The Artis Robotic FUE hair transplant at We Grow Hair Indy, one of the most sophisticated hair transplant procedures available. The accuracy and the precision of the Artis Robotic FUE is what clients love the most. Get the results you want with our Artis FUE or multi-unit hair grafting procedure.
Don't wait. Call today and find out more about the Artis Robotic FUE at WeGrowHairIndy.com. Call 317-522-2995 for your hair evaluation. 317-522-2995 or go to WeGrowHairIndy.com and grow your hair back today.
Tailgate this Sunday from 10 to 1 at the parking lot at McCarty and Church Street before the Colts-Bears game. Presented by Real Alternatives, Jack Daniels and Twin Peaks. Register to win tickets to the game and $100 in Colts cash from Bud Light. No purchase necessary.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment here on The Gun Guy Show. I'll tell you what, I was going to get a little into talking about NFA stuff. Before we do, let's go to the phone lines, and Darius has called in. Welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Hey, how are you?
Good. You pronounce it Darius or Darius?
I pronounce it Darius, but thank you.
No, you know what? I have a very dear friend, Darius McClendon, who's actually battalion chief of the Pike Township Fire Department, who I've known forever. Actually, I performed his wedding ceremony, but he pronounces it Darius, and so that's effective. I've always said Darius as a first blush, so I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah, no, that's great. I just wanted to get your take. I live out in the country on about 5 acres and have chickens and some other wildlife, but we deal with predators, and 22 sometimes doesn't have quite enough pop.
Yep.
And a regular 5.5 or 2.23 is sometimes a little bit of overkill. Is there anything in between that you would suggest?
Yeah, I go to shotgun in that situation. I mean, you want to have a fairly tight choke on it. You don't want to be killing chickens at the same time you're trying to kill the coyote that's trying to get in the chicken coop. But, like even something like a 20 gauge shotgun would be appropriate for the whole family to use, with number 4, number 6, number 8 shot in it, depending on the kind of distances you're going to be using. Then all of a sudden you're covered. You're going to have enough, you're going to have enough firepower there to deal with something that maybe where a 22 might be a little underpowered. At the same time, deal with larger predators as well. I think I'd be inclined in that application to go shotgun. What do you think?
You know what? 20 gauge is perfect. I don't have one, and I've got 2 sons that need to learn how to use them. We pheasant hunt, so perfect gun to go to. Thank you.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, and hope that works out for you. And good luck to you too. I'm glad you're looking at the ability to defend yourself, defend your livestock, defend your animals. That's fabulous. We only got a couple of minutes here. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I've had some NFA interaction here, which myself here in the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, because I bought a little Ruger 1022. I haven't had a plinker. I mean, since I was a teenager, I don't think I've just had a little 22 plinker, and I've wanted a little Ruger 1022 for a long time. You know, it's one that awful lot of people own. Probably the most common 22 rifle out there, if I had to guess. But I wanted to suppress it, and because I'll tell you what, you're talking about something that's just flat fun to shoot. A suppressed 22, even you put subsonic ammunition in a suppressed 22, and it's got to be enough to cycle the firearm. Although with a suppressor on the gun, even with subsonics, you get a little more back pressure through the gun, through the gas system of the gun, because of the suppressor, which actually helps it function even with subsonics. So you got a bullet that doesn't break the sound barrier. So you don't get that rifle crack from the bullet breaking the sound barrier. Then you got a 22, which is naturally pretty quiet anyway compared to most calibers. And then you got it suppressed on top of that. It is incredibly quiet. It's not quite movie quiet. What's movie quiet is, where Hollywood would have us believe that a suppressor makes a gun go. No, that's not what it sounds like. It just sounds like a quieter gunshot. But a suppressed 22 with subsonics is about as quiet as you can get. Especially a rifle is going to be a little more quiet than a pistol with a shorter barrel. And even pistols, 22 pistol, like I got a Ruger 2245, I can put this same suppressor on with a piston and incredibly quiet. But anyway, so I wanted one of those, and so I got the rifle from my friends there at Indy Arms, and then I got suppressor from my buddy Joe Birding at Birding Ballistics, and then here more recently for my 6.5 Creedmoor, I wanted a suppressor for that as well. So I got this beautiful Silencer Co. Hybrid 46M, great suppressor I can use on a number of different firearms. So I bought a couple of suppressors. If you're thinking about a suppressor, today is the day to do it. Now is the time to do it, because the wait times on processing. Listen, I've owned several suppressors. These are, I don't know, fifth and sixth suppressors I think that I've bought, and I remember waiting for up to a year for the ATF to process my Form 4. That's the form you fill out with the dealer when you're buying the suppressor. I bought a Silencer Co. Saker 762 for my 300 Blackout SBR, and bought it from my friends out at Fort Liberty Firearms in Avon. And I believe it was 11 months we waited on that thing to be approved. Right now, if you're doing this as an individual, trusts take a little more time because you got multiple people who have to go through the background check. But as an individual, each of these were less than 3 days of total turnaround time, and they were both within like 3 weeks of each other. Both of them were right in the 3 business day rate. One of them went over a weekend. The other one was just during the week. And when I counted them up, it was 67 hours total from the time we submit that. It's with the e-file, so you got to have an account. You got to e-file. But if you're interested in a suppressor, the wait times are way low right now. That's this week's edition of the Gun Guy Show. We'll see you when we come back on 93 WIBC.
Need a new work truck? Need a new fleet vehicle? Andy Moore Ford has got you covered. Over 800 new vehicles available on the lot, including the Super Duty trucks available starting only at $43,995. You've got F-150s, transit vans, the custom work vehicles for any industry, all built Ford tough, and Rangers with that all-new body style from only $36,995. And of course, you want the cool, fun stuff. They've got the Broncos, the Bronco Sports. I'm driving a Bronco. I own a Bronco Sport. And interest rates as low as 0% APR available on new Andy Moore Fords. And when you need service, Andy Moore Ford will come to you. Just schedule it online at andymoreford.com. They'll come pick up the vehicle, service it, and bring it back to you as good as new. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield. Visit them on Main Street. Tell them Tony Cat sent you, or find them online at andymoreford.com. That's Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. andymoreford.com.
Hey guys, it's Rob from my friends at Universal Windows Direct. Call my guys at Universal Windows Direct. 317-659-7574. At Universal Windows Direct, their Super Spacer technology makes their